At 63 years old, Paul Newman's daughter, Nell Newman, finally talked openly in a surprising interview on CBS Sunday Morning. And what she said about her dad broke the perfect picture that Hollywood always kept safe. Because behind those famous bright blue eyes was not a perfect dad or husband, but a guy who had two different lives. One he showed the world and one for the man he really loved. And the saddest part, his will cut out his whole family and gave everything to a mystery man known just by the letters RR. But whose is RR's? What could make a big star push away his wife and kids just to keep a love he never admitted, even when he died? Everything gets told in today's video. Westport, Connecticut is a calm, fancy suburb where super-rich people live, and everyone thinks every big gate hides a happy home. But behind the gate of the Newman house, little Nell, who was just a small blonde girl who loved drawing alone under the big oak trees, learned very young that in this home, some questions you never ask if you want your parents to keep loving you. I used to think my family was perfect, like the pictures framed on all the walls. But then I figured out photos don't talk, and my family didn't talk either. She never ever saw her parents hold hands. Not once in a while, never. The hugs for cameras lasted just 1 second, like two actors doing the last scene of a movie they were bored of doing. Paul Newman, with those blue eyes that made so many women around the world go crazy, was cold like a rock inside his own house. Joanne Woodward, so pretty, graceful, and kind, would get super quiet and pull away the second he walked in. Once I tried to hold my mom's hand while she washed dishes and asked, "Are you sad?" She pulled her hand away fast, like it hurt her. She wasn't mad. She just didn't know how to touch people when she felt real feelings. Every morning, her dad left the house super early, never saying where he was going. When he came back, sometimes after days, sometimes after weeks, he'd just give a tiny nod and go into his study, closing the door tight. From inside, she could sometimes hear a quiet, happy laugh on a faraway phone call. But never, never was it her mom's voice. There was a cold winter night in 1972. Nell remembered when she heard her mom smash a wine glass in the bedroom. She ran in and saw Joanne on her knees, holding a sharp piece of glass, whispering again and again, "You lied again. You lied again." When Nell asked, "What did Dad do?" her mom looked at her shaking and said, "Not all men love women, sweetheart. But Hollywood doesn't let that happen." Right then, her little heart broke right in half. Not long after, Nell remembered finding an old Polaroid picture that fell out of her dad's wallet. In it, he was smiling big, his arm around another man, a man who didn't look like just a buddy. Paul was looking at him like someone in love. When Nell showed the photo to her mom, Joanne grabbed it, ripped it up, and threw it in the fire, saying quietly, "We never talk about this. Never." From then on, Nell knew there were secret rules in that house. Don't ask where Dad goes. Don't ask why Mom always needs sleeping pills. Don't ask why they sleep in different beds on different floors. And most of all, don't ask about love. We lived with walls full of Oscar pictures, but not one showed real happiness, she said, her voice cracking a bit. Whenever guests came, especially guys like Gore Vidal, Robert Redford, or new faces from New York, the whole house felt different. Paul would dress nice, put on a new smell-good cologne, and the night always ended with his bedroom door locking. No one asked who he invited over. No one asked why Joanne went to bed early, her face white like she'd been crying. We had perfect photos but empty hearts. Everything felt fake, and the worst part is I thought I was bad for feeling that way. As she got older, Nell started seeing more clues. Once she found her dad in the kitchen late at night, staring at a wrinkled letter before he burned it with a lighter that had the letters GV on it. When she asked who he wrote to, Paul said softly, "Don't become someone I have to hide things from." But what she could never forget was when her mom whispered while half asleep, "I'm not jealous of women. I'm just scared I'll never be enough for him." That one sentence ripped apart the fake story this family had kept together for years. And the first person who tried to pull back that curtain was her brother Scott Newman. The one who asked the biggest no-no question in the whole house and paid for it with his life. Scott wasn't like the rest of us, Nell said, her voice breaking in the 2025 CBS interview. He was the first to say loud what the rest of us swallowed with pain. Scott Newman, the oldest son, called by Hollywood the wild version of his dad, grew up in bright lights. But he figured out early it wasn't happy light. It was a spotlight on a sad story ready to blow up. He was born with everyone's big hopes on him. As the Newman kid, he had to be charming, good at stuff, strong, and win big just like Dad. But even in high school, Scott started wondering, why doesn't Mom hold Dad's hand? Why doesn't Dad hug Mom when she cries? Why does Dad just laugh and look away when I say I love you? And worst, why does Dad hang out so much with guys who aren't just friends? I used to hear Mom crying in her room, Nell remembered. Scott would smash his guitar till it broke, and Dad just sat downstairs drinking whiskey and watching TV. In 1974, something small but scary happened. At a friend's party, a drunk kid said, "Hey Scott, maybe ask your dad if he likes men or women." Scott got so mad he punched the kid, broke his nose, needed 6 stitches. He got kicked out of school that week. Paul Newman didn't come to the school. He sent a lawyer and money to fix it. No kind words, no hug. Scott came home, threw his old awards in the fire, and yelled, "You didn't protect me. You didn't protect Mom. So who are you really?" For the first time, the big question was said out loud, but nobody answered. A year later, Nell found a thin notebook hidden under Scott's bed, something she kept like a treasure later. Inside were messy black ink words, smudged from tears. If he never really loved Mom, then who am I? Am I a mistake or part of a big cover-up? Was I born from love or to hide his secret? Those words hurt her so much. But the bigger shock came in 1977, when Confidential Weekly printed a black and white photo from Malibu Beach in 1959. In it, a man who looked a lot like Paul Newman was holding hands with another man. Both in white shirts and dress pants, barefoot on sand. No kiss, no big show, but the way they looked at each other was so soft, it couldn't be just friends. Hollywood was shocked, and the papers didn't say it straight, but old rumors came back fast with headlines like, "Who is the man in Paul's life?" The other side of a tough guy star. And Scott, who was about to sign his first big action movie, got dropped from it last minute. No real reason given, but he heard a producer say, "People won't see him as a hero if his dad's hiding a double life." That night, Scott broke the bathroom mirror and cut his wrist a little. Not to die, but enough to scare his mom when she found him. Paul wasn't home. He was in New York with a close friend the papers called his buddy. From then, Scott went downhill. He changed his number, stopped talking to family, and started taking pills. Not to get hooked, but to forget the cold look from America's favorite dad. Nell remembered, "I called him once, and all I heard was a long sigh before he hung up. The last time we talked, he just asked, 'Do you think Dad ever really loved anyone?' I couldn't answer." 1 month later, on November 20th, 1978, police broke into a small apartment Scott was renting in Los Angeles. They found him on the floor, pills around him, half-empty red wine bottle, TV still on funny enough, showing Paul Newman getting an award for slap shot. The report said no crime, probably suicide by too many pills. Nell was only 18 then, but she knew Scott didn't die from pills or wine. He died from quiet because no one ever answered the question he carried forever. Did Dad ever live real and honest? And if not, then what are we? And then from that hurt, Nell started seeing her family, and her dad's story was built on secret after secret. One snowy winter night in 1981, snow covered the backyard of the Newman house in Westport. In that freezing cold, Nell Newman, just 22 then, walked quietly down the hall to get an extra blanket from the kitchen. Well, she stopped at her dad's study. Warm yellow light came from the half-open door, but it wasn't the light that stopped her. It was a deep sigh, not like an actor practicing, not tired from a call. It was heavy, like holding back a big truth ready to burst. As she froze, stepped closer, quietly peeked in. Paul Newman sat alone, holding a fancy pen, writing fast on thick paper. On the desk weren't movie scripts or work papers. They were letters. A 3-page handwritten letter in the same writing Nell only saw on Christmas cards to her mom. But this time not to Joanne. The first line said, "Dear Red, the one who reminded me I was human, not just a famous face." Nell couldn't move. In that second, all her kid questions screamed in her dad's own words. Paul didn't talk about movies, fame, or awards. He wrote about Robert Redford's look as they filmed the last scene of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in the Utah desert. About soft touches on the shoulder when no one saw, and nights drinking whiskey on a hotel roof. No words, just quiet like two guys scared talking. Zeldy make it too real. There was a night you looked at me, just looked, and I felt the world forgave me, Red. You didn't say anything. But if you walked in here one day and looked at me like back then, I'd give up everything. The fame, the family, even Hollywood. Nell gasped. Her hands shook so hard she almost dropped the paper. Right then the phone rang next door. Paul got up and left. She put the letter back quick and ran like she'd found a secret safe. But one thing stuck in her head forever. Her dad wasn't writing to a friend. He was writing to someone who made his heart shake. A few weeks later, the truth almost came out. Joanne Woodward in California for a big Vogue photo shoot suddenly canceled and flew home to Westport fast. Why? And secret phone call with one message. If you still care about your marriage, go to the Mayflower Hotel room 708. That night, Paul was supposed to be in New York meeting a partner about a new script. The partner, Robert Redford, the guy media always called his best brother friend. No one knows what happened in room 708. But when Joanne came home, she said nothing. Her face was white like a ghost. A bruise on her arm like someone held too tight, and makeup couldn't hide the crying. That night, for the first time in years, the quiet house had crashing sounds from the main bedroom. No yelling, just sharp breaking, an Italian lamp smashed on the floor. From that day, Paul Newman started changing. He started smoking again, the habit Joanne made him quit in the 60s. He couldn't sleep. He sat on the porch alone past midnight, staring into darkness. One night, Nell saw him at the mirror, squeezing his pen so hard it might break. Once, just because Nell dropped a Beatles record in the dining room, he smashed Joanne's wedding gift crystal vase and walked away quiet. No mean words, but his quiet hurt worse than hitting. Joanne got smaller like a shadow. From that night, she never called Paul honey or my love again. Not on birthdays, not at dinner, not even in public. When a reporter asked about Robert Redford, she said flat, "That man." No names, no friend word, no anythings. Nell, studying nature stuff then, started understanding her parents' marriage wasn't real love. It was a 50-year play. Two big stars holding onto their parts so the whole stage didn't fall. But a lonely letter, a mystery call, and a hotel room showed the hidden breaks. From then, Nell watched closer. In an old drawer in her dad's study, she found phone lists with just initials R or T. No last names, some crossed out, others with notes like "call after 10 p.m. don't tell Joanne." Old photos folded up, hidden behind family pictures, faces she didn't know, eyes looking at her dad too long, too close. And just when she thought she got it, she realized Robert Redford might be the biggest, but maybe not the only one. In 1981, at the Carlyle Hotel lobby in New York, a fancy place for rich people, no one thought a secret was moving through its soft red halls. That night, Nell was just dropping off papers for her mom. She'd finished a TV job interview feeling excited. But when the elevator opened, her world stopped like a bad cut scene from the perfect family movie. Her dad, Paul Newman, came from one side. Walking with him wasn't Joanne's. It was Gore Vidal. The famous writer, sharp talker, political guy, family friend for over 20 years. But that night, he didn't walk like a friend. He walked like someone in love. Gore's hand touched Paul's wrist, stroked it soft, then pulled back. Paul tilted his head and smiled gentle. Both in long coats, so close a wind could touch their faces. Then Paul saw her. "That look will stay with me forever," Nell said in a 2018 Esquire interview. It wasn't a dad-caught look. It was a man begging, "Please don't say anything." Gore smiled like normal. Paul stepped in the elevator. Doors closed. She stood there locked in with a new secret. After that, Gore Vidal kept coming around more. Joanne said nothing, but Nell noticed 2 a.m. calls. Long trips with no word, notes by the phone saying "G call back." Once she saw her dad take an old black and white photo from his pocket. He and Gore by a lake, backs together, eyes far like they'd gone past friendship and never came back. Nell asked her mom straight, "Do you think Dad might be?" "Not the man you thought," Joanne said slow. She who won an Oscar playing a woman with many sides fell quiet, then added, "Some things no one teaches us to say, but they happen every day even if we pretend not." That quiet was the biggest confession without words. And Gore Vidal never said anything public. But in his 1995 book Palimpsest, he wrote something that shook book people. "There are men who will never belong to us. But every time they smile, we feel truly alive." He didn't say Paul, but everyone knew Gore Nev. Wrote like that about anyone else, not even guys he dated openly, just one man who never admitted a thing. Even in his last Vanity Fair talk in 2006, when asked, "Was Paul Newman your biggest love?" Gore shrugged, drank, looked at camera. "We shared nights no one wanted to stop. That's all I can say." The room went quiet. No more questions. And Nell didn't need more, she knew what it meant. Because in 2003, when Joanne started forgetting things, names, her daughter's birthday, one thing she never forgot. In a mixed-up moment between dream and real, she held Nell's hand tight and whispered, "You know, the way he looked at Gore, it was a look he never gave me, and I can never forget that, even if I forget me." Joanne Woodward had been the perfect smart beauty in Hollywood, a sign of real loyalty in a fake world. Oscar winner for The Three Faces of Eve. The only woman Paul ever said public he'd never leave. On Life magazine cover, America's dream couple, glowing, romantic, no flaws. But that shine faded as she sat alone in a small nursing home room in Westport, where weak sun through the window couldn't warm her old, thin hands that held Paul's heart for 50 years. Alzheimer's came quiet like a robber, stealing memories big and small, her first movie, awards, Broadway nights. Once Nell brought an old 1974 Golden Globes photo. She stared long, then asked soft, "Who is this? Do I know them?" But in the fog that wiped her life, one name kept coming up, sad and strong. Not Paul, not kids, Robert. At first, Nell thought it was just old brain mix-up. But nurses gave her quiet looks, saying some nights Joanne woke up lost but voice clear, telling old things never said. Strange cologne on husband's shirt, phone calls from Essex House Hotel in New York, no answer, blonde hair on pillow not hers. Then she said the name slow, full of hurt. The same name Nell heard only once almost 40 years before, when she skipped school and saw her dad step out of Essex House elevator with the man everyone called his best friend, Robert Redford. Oh, she was 17 then. Hid behind a pillar, watched her dad in gray suit put hand on Robert's shoulder, say something that made them both laugh easy, close, like nothing to hide. She never told Mom. Buried it deep, thinking maybe kid imagination, maybe don't mess up famous family life. But now hearing Mom's fading voice say same hotel, same smell, same look she never got, everything fell apart like sand in a storm. That was the day he lied, her mom whispered, looking at a 1985 Rhode Island beach family photo. He said meeting a director for script, but I knew. I always knew. I saw that look and it wasn't for me. Then she bent head, breathing hard, repeating broken, Essex House, room 1217. I called all night, no answer. That story matched Nell's hidden memory so exact it hurt to breathe. Her moms, who forgave everything, defended husband 50 years, remembered hotel room number no one taught her. Even with sick brain, heart kept betrayal pain. Joanne didn't yell or blame, but her far stare in afternoon light was quiet blame time couldn't fix. Once Nell asked, "Do you remember how Dad loved you?" Mom turned cloudy eyes steady and said light like air, "I used to think he did, but after that night I didn't anymore." Everything called perfect love, forever marriage in pretend Hollywood, popped like a bubble in true light. And as family got ready for sad goodbye, hoping Paul by her side to end, he, America's guy, left a bigger shock. No one guest behind gentle smiles, kind eyes, big giving, was a cold choice that dropped his family down. And worse, not accident. A planned careful long before. The more Nell looked at the will, the harder to breathe the details. The whole part in the 100 million salad dressing company Newman's own wasn't split like promised. Nothing to Joanne, wife forgetting her name. Nothing to kids who helped build it through hard times. All to one man, Robert Forrester, always quiet in background like a shadow. And when lawyer said Paul added no contest rule, challenge and lose everything, it felt like ice in Nell's heart. As she froze, looked at Sister Clay, whispered, "We didn't just lose Dad, we lost chance to know who he was." Even scarier, a leaked will note from old legal helpers showed Paul once planned a private fund called Quiet Legacy. First money not to family, but mystery person with initials RR. Vanity Fair and New York Post headlines guest RR was Robert Redford. People went crazy. Old rumors about the two stars, always denied, came back stronger. Especially after Advocate reporter said secret 1982 Tuscany trip. No wives, no help, just them in private villa. Nell never knew that trip, but calling Mom's old friend Dorothy Hughes, Joanne's 1980s helper, the answer shook her. Oh, that Italy trip Joanne knew. But she stayed quiet because she thought if Paul got freedom, maybe he'd come back. Not full, but still hers. And now, after all, what he left was Power Tower with one guard and legal cuts like knives ending family ties. No sweet letter, no feelings, just cold signatures and one line from Robert Forrester at 2009 press meet when asked why family out of control. He trusted me, and that's all that matters. That shut like a judge's word, leaving Nell full of questions. Her dad, who said live and die for family, made them feel like strangers. On September 26, 2008, Paul Newman, Hollywood star with magic blue eyes, breathed last at his Connecticut farm. All America got quiet. CBS showed old scenes from The Hustler and Cool Hand Luke. CNN did tribute with nice words from friends, coworkers, even strangers. Everyone thought behind glamour was happy family, loyal wife, proud kids with Newman name. But that was only part true. Just 3 days after, Nell got cold call from Dad's law office. We started the will as told. To check your mail inside. Some things need clear but money split done. Right then Nell felt something bad and she was right. The last will, signed 6 weeks before death, erased his whole family, wife and 6 kids. Instead, all over $600 million, company shares, houses, picture rights, money from old movies, went to Newman's own foundation, run by Robert Forrester, old boss of charity company, man Paul trusted most at end. Anger hit family hard. But scarier was media silence. No big news dug deep. No one asked why Joanne, 50-year wife with dementia then, got nothing. Nell, who ran environment part of foundation once, got pushed out months later. No whys, no warnings. In rare 2015 New York Times talk, she said with wet eyes, I didn't want money, but I hate how they made Dad a tool and threw Mom away like she wasn't his life. That's when quiet looking started. Outside lawyers, writers, old workers had dark idea. Paul maybe not okay in head when he signed last will. Leaked clinic papers from New York showed memory problems mid-2007, confusion, and May 2008 judgment issue, just 3 months before new will. But never made official. Old legal person told Vanity Fair secret, I saw June letter Paul wrote Joanne. It said opposite of will. He said sorry, scared, no time to fix, forgive if wrong later. But letter not filed legal. Only one who knew wouldn't say who, scared. Wall Street Journal did big story 2019, ask straight, who really made Paul's last will. Guardian called it biggest Hollywood money steal ever. And Robert Forrester running foundation. He doubled his pay quick, cut money for family projects, stopped old groups Paul helped 20 years and banned family from board. When Nell tried court in Connecticut 2020 to open case, court said no, not enough proof, Paul not okay mentally. But big twist end 2021. Old Joanne helper found handwritten letter in their favorite book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, on private shelf. Writing matched. A print still good. Short message, my dearest Joanne, if I'm not clear enough to say this loud, read here. Everything yours. Name work why I lived. If wrong, no I didn't pick it. I love you to end, Paul. No legal power, but it opened whole mystery. When ABC asked Nell 2023 if she wants case back, she gave sad smile. Some things no papers fix, but I think Dad left truth somewhere. Maybe waiting for us. Maybe what Paul tried to hide all life wasn't money, salad recipe, or big name. What he hid deepest under calm smiles and blue eyes was real him. A man in bright lights but died in secret dark, never named. And when curtain pulled, whispers to shouts, files open, money taken, only left in Nell's heart not mad, not fight, not lost case, but quiet love always there, bond no will breaks. She once called his heart follower. Put heart on product labels, thought carried dad's story proud. But wiped clean like never there. Only thing can't erase. Blood tie invisible but hurting every day. I never stopped loving my dad. No matter what, no matter left out decisions, I loved him. Like daughter loves dad. Nell's voice broke like forever crack in final 2010 CBS Sunday morning interview. But love not always forgives. Truth unsaid becomes deep hole that eats memories. I believe he loved us. I want to believe. But wish he brave to be honest, not world but family. She said eyes not mad now, just soft sad stuck like kid at locked door forever. She never said what honest meant. But watchers got it. Everyone got it. In hidden files, unsent love letters, quiet meets with guys once called co-stars, backstage stories, one Scott, one Redford, one Dean, puzzle pieces never fit. Secrets he took to grave, but left ones carry silence wait forever. Not just money split. Memory shattered. When dad picture turns legend, kid left with questions no answers. And at end when story done, screen blah. CK one quiet question stays for every watcher. Are we really living as us before too late? Behind lights, letters never sent, forgotten kids, truth may be buried with Paul Newman. What if legend like him loved all life for being good, carried secret even family never knew? Leave comment below. We want your thoughts. If you like this video, hit subscribe bell on, share so more here story. I'll see you next videos.